Cassie Ventura.
Cassie Ventura. Cassie Ventura.
Cassie may be on the stand well until tomorrow as well, too. Still in cross-examination, something that the judge was a little like, whoa, what are you guys talking about?
But it also goes both ways, because also in those text messages, which there are some ones for the prosecution here, she discusses how he has been physically violent towards her. They discuss the freak-offs and a number of other things that really go to show that there was some sort of physical violence within the relationship, threats of force and things like that, which the government essentially has to prove.
She was, again, very forthcoming, answering her questions in the courtroom, still very soft-spoken, even when those graphic messages were shown inside the courtroom, even as she had to read some of these, and these are very in nature. Some of them I'm not going to repeat here on air.
We have breaking news that we're following in Sean Diddy Combs' racketeering and trial. In just moments, Combs' ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, is set to retake the stand and face what we expect to be her final round of questioning under cross-examination. Court currently is on a short lunch break, but if you recall, the judge previously said that he wanted Ventura's cross-examination to wrap up before lunch today. Prosecutors have said that Ventura, who's nearly 9 months pregnant, could soon go into labor.
Over the last hour, the defense has been asking Ventura more about her 2018 allegation against Combs, Ventura's drug use, her mental health problems, and a 2014 threat that she made to a man who claimed he had seen a explicit tape of her, also raised in court. The defense at one point asking Ventura, quote, "Do you still have love for him?" referring to Combs. And Ventura answered by saying, quote, "I have love for the past and what it was."
After hearing both the allegations and the defense cross-examination so far, who do you find more credible? 80% say Cassie, 20% say Diddy. Serena, you think that's going to be consistent with what the jury's thinking at this point, or it's very difficult to know because, again, there's one thing how we're listening to the transcript, or at least we're reading from the transcript, versus how the questioning is done inside that courtroom.
The defense is right when they say that Cassie Ventura is the most critical witness to this case. The defense is doing its job because what they're trying to do is bring out that she's not a perfect person, that they're saying she might have wanted to engage in these freak-offs on more than one occasion, that she was willingly staying in this relationship with Sean Combs, even though she knew that it was an abusive one. They're bringing out things that she said to other people that are less than flattering. All that being said, the government doesn't need to have a perfect victim. What the government has done this week essentially is establishing the that they've charged Sean Combs with. And I would argue that they are well on their way to proving these. A lot of people don't realize that with you don't have to have movement anywhere. You don't have to go across state lines. A lot of times people confuse it with human smuggling. Here, somebody can be in their own home. All you really need is someone providing somebody else for that commercial act. And when I say commercial, I mean anything of value, not even necessarily money, to be given by force or coercion. And so Cassie Ventura has done her job this week for the government, and now the defense is doing its job to try to make it seem as if she wanted to be in this relationship and that what happened in those freak-offs was not coerced.
As far as the cross-examination goes, for the most part, it seems very casual. We were thinking that it might be aggressive, it might be combative, but for the most part, Cassie has been very forthcoming in answering these questions. You know, she's showing, Ana Maria Estevao is showing her text messages and email chains and BlackBerry messages from 2007, from 2009, where Cassie is confessing her love to Diddy, or she is asking for a freak off, or she's, asking, about just more intimate details from her relationship with him. Because to your point, Jesse, a lot of this stuff, some of these messages that we did see in court today were very graphic in nature. And so, the questioning was starting out about the relationship between the two. When it first started out in around that 2007 time period, around that 2009 period, that's when the questioning at the beginning of it kind of all started. And you would think that would be, an aggressive moment or a combative moment, especially as you're seeing messages that say, "I'm a very lucky woman. I miss you and I'd fly wherever you need me. I love you." And then you see Diddy respond, "I love you so much. It makes me cry." And then Cassie writing back, "You hungry pop pop." But I'm thinking, just from my perspective, that around those time frames, she was still relatively young for the most part. She was in her early 20s. She was also asked about a previous relationship she had with another music producer named Ryan Leslie. And around this time frame, the defense was kind of saying, when you started dating him, you were 18, 19 years old and he was 10 years older than you, and asking, with respect to Sean Combs and with respect to Diddy, asking whether or not, that her entire world opened up because she was dating this man at this time period. Because remember, around that time, Diddy essentially reigned king amongst everyone. And so a lot of the questioning was a lot of messages that were shown today, a lot saying, I love you so much. It made me feel like I can't wait until we just don't care anymore. And by saying we don't care anymore, that's about, her just wanting to be open and public about this relationship. You see Cassie say, Pop Pop, I really miss you. And Diddy responding in these messages, me too, baby. Damn, I can't wait until I see you. You see a 2010 message where Cassie says, so you hung up. It's like I need to have something written out to say to you with no breathing room or you'll get mad at me. I haven't talked to you at all. I know you have 3 minutes because, around this time he is running a bunch of businesses. He's going to board meetings. He's traveling across the country. But it seems like, Cassie, from her point of view, just by reading these messages, that you could kind of tell that she was just somebody, at least from my perspective, somebody that was young and in love and just wanted her boyfriend around her that time. I will say, as far as just kind of the tone in the courtroom today, this was a day many of us were waiting for, because it is the cross-examination. We were wondering what the defense is going to try to poke at with, kind of maybe discrediting some of the claims, especially the claims about whether or not this was consensual or non-consensual, whether or not Cassie initiated wanting to do these FOs, or whether it was, Sean Combs who initiated and wanted to do it and made her, gather these escorts. And we haven't gotten too far into the testimony. I will say one thing today, Jesse, and some of the arguments that we had heard, even as I was leaving the courtroom just to come out and do this hit with you today, is that Cassie may be on the stand well until tomorrow as well, too, still in cross-examination, something that the judge was a little like, whoa, what are you guys talking about? You guys told me that you would be wrapped up today or possibly tomorrow. And the defense said today that they still have so much more to go over, to the point that this could drag into Friday and possibly even spill over into Monday if they have to do redirect or even have to do recross. And so that was something that they were ironing out as soon as the lunch break hit, right when I was leaving to come out here to speak with you. And so it seems like they still have a long ways to go into this cross-examination. There were times that I was thinking maybe that this would get combative. Maybe Cassie would get mad or angry or anything like that. I saw none of that. She was, again, very forthcoming, answering her questions in the courtroom, still very soft-spoken, even when those graphic messages were shown inside the courtroom, even as she had to read some of these, and these are very in nature. Some of them I'm not going to repeat here on air, but for the most part, when she was answering the question, she still kept the exact same tone that she had even during her direct examination. As for Ana Maria Estevao, I mispronounced her name earlier when we were talking about her, but even when she was asking her questions, it was a little kind of messy at times. I was kind of like, is she just going to ask a direct question? And Cassie was like, can you repeat that? Can you rephrase it? And then there were a lot of objections during the line of questioning. One thing I did note is that I'm a little surprised that Ana Maria Estevao is actually doing the line of questioning, because from what I can see of her, she's conferring a lot with Tenny Garagos during this line of questioning, whereas with AUSA Emily Johnson, when she was doing her direct examination, as far as, Maureen Comey, as far as she was participating in that, she was just, handing her sticky notes from time to time.
The text messages certainly will weigh on her credibility. I think what we've heard, or what we're hearing now through the cross-examination, is the defense attorney essentially using these text messages to say to her, well, listen, you again were a willing participant, you continue this relationship with him. And the defense is highlighting that through those text messages and through the conversations Ms. Ventura has been having. But it also goes both ways, because also in those text messages, which there are some ones for the prosecution here, she discusses how he has been physically violent towards her. They discuss the freak-offs and a number of other things that really go to show that there was some sort of physical violence within the relationship, threats of force and things like that, which the government essentially has to prove. So the jury is going to determine how credible Ms. Ventura is, and the judge will instruct instruct them on how to determine that. And they will be able to decide whether or not those text messages are consistent with her credibility and if they either bolster or affirm her credibility or discredit her.